What's up, guys?
What is up?
How you doing?
You know, I'm doing good.
Cam, are you at your beach house? Tell us about your beach house.
No, I'm actually at my ranch in Montana,
Oh,
with my 14 acres of horses and cattle and birds and chickens. We're just living life.
man, I love that. I'm glad that you have that home. You have your beach house way out there. Um,
Yes, and my underground bunker in Florida as well.
yes,
You're all invited.
yes, the Bat Cave.
Yeah, in Arizona as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I love it. Malcolm, thank you for joining us. Malcolm actually got beat up last week by his sister, and she knocked out 6 of his teeth. So he's
I was
actually in a
wondering
lot of pain
what
right now.
I was
But thank
wondering
you for
what
joining
was
us,
wrong
Malcolm.
with his face.
They're lying. I have wisdom teeth. It hurts. But I'm
Yes,
still doing it.
he did. He had his wisdom teeth pulled. But thank you so much for joining us, Malcolm. Um, yeah, so we're gonna get kind of straight into this. And Pastor Dakota, of course, thank you for joining us as well.
Always just getting scraps here. Man.
He's always the last. Like, what?
I basically have to beg to be recognized.
It's just a thing now, bro. It's just a thing. But we're gonna hop right into this thing. Last week we talked about testimony and how that a testimony is kind of your story and how you've lived your life and where God has come through. And tonight we're gonna not really continue on that thought, but in a way we're still gonna be talking about like our stories. And so tonight we're gonna tackle the topic of racism. It's been over the last 2 weeks and months, and really for a long time, it's been a hot topic. But really, over the last 2 weeks, it's been out there. And over the last 2 weeks, I've really wanted to tackle this, and so I'm glad that we can tonight. So before we get started, I'm going to read this scripture from James, chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. It says, "Yes, indeed, it is good when you obey the royal law as found in the scriptures. Love your neighbor as yourself." If you remember when Jesus gave that little scripture there, he said that all of the law and all of the prophets, like all of it is found in that. Like you could sum it all up with just that one phrase, to love your neighbor as yourself. So to love everyone as you love yourself. But James continues with this: "But if you favor some people over others, you are committing a sin. You are guilty of breaking the law." And so before we kind of get this started tonight, we want you to know at Realife that we really have no favorites. You're all our favorites. And we stand with all of you guys, no matter where you come from, whether you're Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, no matter what race. We love you all. But right now, our Black brothers and sisters are hurting. And so I don't really have all the words, like the right words, and probably not even the right questions to ask. Because as a white guy, like I don't really know how it feels. And so what I really wanted to do tonight, is to just kind of get in y'all's heads, and just see it from your point of view, and maybe help our students see life from your point of view. And so yeah, I'm just going to ask some basic questions. Like I said, I don't know that I have the right questions or anything like that, but at the very least, what I want to try to accomplish is to like help us see like your life, like from your perspective. So the first question is this: what is it like to be a young Black man in America?
Well, first of all, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh. Cut.
You can take it.
All right, I'll go first. I'm trying. But for starters, it's it's a challenge, as all of us may know. All our lives are unique in different ways due to the greatness of our God. But at the same time, we live in a sinful world, and we're already born into it in a perfect world. And so by doing so, a pigment of your skin can already depict how your life may be determined or how it may be looked upon. And so as a young black man, you know, it's difficult to not play in the stereotypes of how you're already portrayed in the world. Like from the moment you are seen from the world, you already are given a different perspective from other people. And it's hard for that to like not sit in your head and to not, you know, go through your mind each and every day that you're, you know, moving along because I mean, it's the world you live in, you know. I mean, we're not in heaven right now, so we're stuck here for right now. And so to live, you know, through that every day is challenging, it's difficult. And for me, you know, when I was younger, I played into the stereotype of being a black person. I was a troubled young kid. I went to 4 different elementary schools, some for personal reasons, others for, you know, just simply being bad and just being fed up with all the, you know, all those type of things. And so, you know, growing up being black and having to basically knowing, not saying you had to physically fight your whole life. Some people actually had to, but like in my case, I really didn't have to physically fight, but I knew I had to fight, you know, just basically every opportunity in my life to just keep going forward. And it was a challenge just to understand that and just, you know, continue to move on with that. So it's difficult to really, you know, grasp and just know that, well, you're already viewed differently, so you're gonna have to also change that view and then continue to work on your own view. And it's an uphill battle from the start.
Yeah, I definitely and I pray that I articulate this very well. I definitely feel like for me, um, I have been blessed with a, you know, kind of a non-stereotypical African American, you know, struggle type of life that you see on the media or that you see on the news. Um, you know, I've had experiences being in multiple type of cultures. Like I was blessed with being at a private school where it was like 4 Black kids, but then completely switching to an all like Black school the year after. And so I feel like that's given me somewhat of a broad spectrum of how to relate to multiple cultures of people. I feel like Black man in America, and we'll get like further into this. And I'm so glad that Malcolm touched on this. Is there's always this subconscious like um, overthinking, or you know, this double mindedness of like always having really to really think about your actions. You know, in simple things like um, there's always this voice, I guess, in my head that I've kind of just adopted, you know, with being in America. Like, I know, you know, when I'm in a gas station, I know that, you know, I have to not seem suspicious and I have to just kind of get in, get out, you know, buy what I need to buy. You know, if I'm with like, if I'm in like a white space or if I'm in a space where it's like mainly Caucasian people, I know that I have to kind of code switch in how I speak. And I have to sound more professional and I have to sound, you know, more adequate in how I speak. And it's just different things that, you know, as Black Americans, we have to like fight twice as hard to be, you know, recognized the same light. And also don't want to demonize any like other races or like Caucasian people in general, because, you know, even it feels justifiable to walk in hatred toward white people because, you know, we are oppressed. But I've found that to be like, you know, the enemy as well. Like whether or not it's justifiable, that still brings division. And even if I come up to a white person and they speak to me, like I can't automatically think that they are racist just because they are white. You know, I have to still use discernment from God. And I feel like that is what the church is doing. That's the right thing that the church is doing in this whole like racial climate, is that we're using the word of God and not just like the anger and emotions of people and what we're seeing in the media of all these protests and all these like riots and looting. And so yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff, Cam. I can't imagine, like, one thing that stuck out right there is going to a gas station and hurrying up and like getting your stuff and getting out. like that's something that I can't even imagine doing like as a white guy. Like I go to the gas station and I go up and down the aisles like 8 times trying to figure out what candy I want to get, you know what I mean? And not have to ever worry about that anybody's thinking I'm doing something wrong. And so like little things like that I think is like super important to point out. And also that you point out like not all of us are bad either. You know what I mean? From like y'all's point of view, Cam.
And
So,
I guess this could be, I'm sorry, I guess this could be like a more organic conversation, like of
mhm.
both sides, because we are blessed to be in a diverse church.
Mm-hmm.
And we are blessed to, you know, celebrate diversity when a lot of churches don't do that. And so I guess I feel obligated to also ask you, Dakota and Adam, questions about how you feel as like allies towards this whole movement, like, and how you use your voice, because at the end of the day, the reason why we're talking about this is because it's broadcasted in the media and it's so big right now. But
Yeah.
it's like this has been our everyday life. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't just something that's like a trending topic. And you know, we've been speaking about this for hundreds of years, but our voice has not been able to be heard. But I feel like people who are allies to you know, to oppression, people who are Caucasian who have a bigger influence, you know, how do you feel that, you know, you could voice your opinion, you know, when this is all, you know, not just the trending topic of today, if that makes sense.
For me, like that's one reason like I wanted to have this like conversation today. Um, because this is kind of like our platform in a way to like let your voice be heard and to let people know that we stand with you. Um, and for me, like I said, kind of I touched like last week, like I've always had, especially after the 9th grade, I've always had a lot of like black friends. Like, and I say past the 9th grade, not because anything changed when I was in the 9th grade, but from kindergarten until 8th grade at my elementary school. Like I grew up in a really small town, and so we only had 2 black kids that went to our really, really like country school. And we were friends with them when we never thought anything different. You know what I mean? There were 2 brothers. They were awesome. But then when I got to 9th grade, we had like everybody in the county went to the same school. And so it was almost like a culture shock. But for me, I was like, this is awesome. You know, because you play sports like your whole life and stuff. And so you met people from across your county. Malcolm, I know you know that. But for me, living in like rural America in Tennessee, like literally, like I said, I had like 1 or 2 black friends from kindergarten, 8th grade, and then 9th grade. We come to a school, and it's like, wow, we have like a ton of not only just black people, but Hispanic people, some Asian people. You know what I mean? And like it's all these different groups of people. But for me, like once I hit 9th grade, and then even in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, like I used to hang out with a ton of my black friends like every day. Like I'd go back to like the quote unquote hood with them and like hang out there like after school and play basketball and hung out with them like the whole time. And then when I went to Chattanooga, it's kind of the same thing. We had, we started out with a primarily like white youth group, and then we had several black kids that joined. And so those kids are like my sons. I texted them last week and talked to them. And then my best friend in Chattanooga also, he was the worship pastor at the time. And I had a conversation with him last week for like 3 hours and just talking about like everything that's going on. But I think like back to the question, sorry. For me, I think it's just trying to understand you guys. And then from that understanding can come like, well, this is how we champion like you guys, and this is how we push like real change, and like, you know what I mean? And so like the conversation I had with my friend Paul, he'll actually be up here in a couple weeks, so maybe y'all get to meet him. He's one of my best friends in the whole world. He actually sent me a LeBron jersey last week too, which was pretty cool. I know, but anyways, it's like having that 3-hour long conversation with him, and seeing the world from his perspective. And we talked about other life stuff, but we also talked about, just that, like Cam, you're saying, the racial climate and really like what we can do, So anyways, I don't know. I don't know if that answered your question.
I mean, I don't really feel like, I feel like you've answered it the best that you could, because this is something I feel like that is new and so projected onto like you guys' race. And I just approached this whole situation with a little bit of skepticism, because this is not the first time that police brutality has occurred. And so I've been like, okay, is this the last straw? Is this the final blow to finally be like, okay, well, this needs to stop. Like, this is not okay. This is unjust. This is unjustly. And, we need to work things out. And, I feel like more so awareness of privilege is probably half the battle. Because like how I said my gas station story, like, I don't feel like you would have ever, thought had a second thought about like anyone watching you. Like a couple months ago, I tried to pick up my sister, and she's like a lighter skin complexion than me. And then it was a white lady, and she thought I was trying to like kidnap my sister, and I was just trying to pick up my sister. And so it's like simple things like that. And you get the stares, and you get like, it's just like embedded generational racism that needs to be addressed. But there also needs to be an awareness of, this is my white privilege, and I need to be aware that like while I do have this as like my skin color, like I need to stand in allyship with the people who don't have that same privilege.
Yeah. To me, it's like, I've seen a lot of like people posting on social media, and all that's been awesome, and I've shared things on Instagram as well, like to my story. And I spoke out a couple weeks ago about Ahmad, and I think all that is really awesome, because it's bringing a lot of awareness. But I think it's what people are doing behind closed doors that's really going to like see the change.
You're very correct.
So like like I said, like the conversation I had with my friend for a few hours, or I loved what people were talking about. Pastor said it on Sunday, like who have you had over to your like dining room table? Like have you ever had a person of color or another race? Like, have you ever had anyone over your house to eat dinner? And a lot of people, I think that's a gut wrenching thing. Like, cause I think, I have several times. Like my friend Paul lived at our house pretty much, like when I lived in Chattanooga. Anyways, but it's like, I think that's a good start, is like, have you ever had anyone over your house that's of another race or of another color? You know what I mean? It's those little things behind the scenes that you'll start to see change. Cause it's like they said on Sunday, it's one thing to teach your kids that everyone's equal, that you love everyone, that this is how you do the right thing, that nobody's made differently, that we all are like children of God. It's one thing to teach your kids that, but to never like actually show them that by like having people over your house or like going to hang out with people that look different than you, then I think that's when, anyways, sorry, I'm starting to get a little.
No, and I like, this conversation is very important, because like we're both trying to figure out each other. Like, yeah, we are all bonded, like we are all Christian brothers, but we just don't have these conversations enough, and so it's needed.
Sorry if I get a little weepy eyed. I seriously don't understand why this stuff happens, and like how people can't be loved the same. Like, I really don't understand it at all. And so anyways, I'm trying to figure it out too, like you're saying, Cam.
And I don't know, I didn't really plan to talk this much, but like, but I feel like it's also important for, African Americans to not sit at a victim mindset. And Malcolm, if you agree, you can like, or whatever, but I just feel like if we really want to see change, like there has to be a main shift in our mindset of like, yes, we have gone through oppression, but we can overcome this. And a lot of times with my own like Black brothers and sisters, I just see like this victim mentality of like oppression, and it's kind of sad to see that, because God didn't call us to be victims as well. And so
Yeah.
I feel that, Cal, because like I've always said on a lot of occasions, you know, the mind is where everything starts at. And so if you already put yourself in a defeated mindset, well then, I mean, you're going to play right into every scenario that, you know, they might think about. And so therefore, in doing so, is already going to put you at disadvantage, plus the disadvantage you already have. And so it just, you know, on up and up, it doesn't go together. And so as it comes to like, you know, being in a victimized mindset, well, I mean, it's simple. You can't allow yourself to fall into that way, because, I mean, as you can see, you know, it could lead you to simply, you know, being dead. I don't, well, I'm again. It can simply lead you to, you know, in losing your life, or putting yourself in a scenario that you weren't needed to be in, or simply just falling victim to a necessary thing. And so I don't even know have the real words as far as the victimized mindset, because I can't allow myself to, you know, put myself in that kind of mindset. Because for me, I love being mentally strong, and I love, you know, knowing that I have the strength and capability to withhold a lot of things, you know, that I can expect and that are unexpected. And so most of that, yes, does come from God, but before I really knew him, you know, it all came from my mother. You know, I gained my strength and confidence from her, because after fourth grade, you know, it was just me, my mom, my sister. And so I had to grow up early, be, you know, the man in the house, or whatnot. Not saying my dad did anything wrong or not. We still have a great relationship and all those great things. But at the same time, you know, it was just us three. And so me being a little kid, having to wake up, you know, 5 a.m. in the morning to go across town just to, you know, go to school and then stay awake during school, you know, it was a challenge. I could have easily just, you know, fell off and said, you know what, I'm done in the day. I'm just going to, you know, sit out another day and then keep doing that for the rest of the days. And then it would have got me nowhere. And then I'd have been another statistic of another Black student dropping out of school. So I couldn't allow myself to play into that, you know, type of victimized mindset. So knowing where I get my strength from, my, you know, mentality, all that, it honestly just keeps me going, and just knows that, you know, it's where it starts, where the mind starts.
Man, I love that.
It's good.
And like for me, like I don't want, with the whole social media thing, like if you feel like you genuinely are an ally, I mean, I use social media for a while, but this is the thing I've heard. Like I feel like there's this pressure also on the Caucasian race that if you did not say anything on that day, then you're just automatically racist. But it's like some people need time to really discern what's going on. Some people need time to process. And so you're also like demonizing the people, you know, who aren't racist, who are white, but like need time to kind of process everything. And so going back to my point of like, we don't need to demonize each other. Like that's like, you cannot fight fire with fire. Like that's in the Bible. Like you have to use the spirit, and you have to use like everything.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you don't want to. The point of all this, if all of this at the end of the day comes to like a greater divide, then what has been accomplished?
Right.
But if we can use some of this of everything that's going on and things that are being brought to light, if we can use that to unify, hey, that's really what it's about at the end of the day. And I think it's more about having the tough conversations than it is about anything else, and then moving to change.
Yeah.
Like how we think and process, you know?
Yeah, like I've kind of taken this oath to kind of really be more vocal about offenses that I hear. And like even right now in my life, I have like more Caucasian friends than white friends, and that's just from my setting that I'm in right now. But you know, I had to kind of bring up something. We had a rehearsal on Saturday, and you know, it was like an all Caucasian like worship team, and I was the only Black person at the time. And there was a joke made about like Black coffee being synonymous with African coffee, and the whole like people saying that Black people should go back to Africa. And so I just kind of had to vocalize in that space to make people aware that that's not okay to say, you know, even if your intention wasn't bad, but that is, you saying those little like subtle things is adding to the oppression, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's like the little like digs that you think probably don't really hurt anybody. But they do. It's like, I've seen several, of my friends post about like people saying, oh, you're not really Black. Like, I'm Blacker than you. And that being a really hurtful thing that, you know, and I'm sure I've said that before to like somebody. And so when I saw that, I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not one that's free of never doing anything at all. And so like, I saw that and I was immediately like, dang, man, I probably hurt somebody at some time and I didn't even mean to, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like you're
And
saying little things like that, you know?
Yeah.
That people
And
don't
like
realize.
even within the Black community, there's like oppressive levels. There's this whole like colorism scale that lighter is better, you know, and like the darker is like worse. And you know, we have our own issues. It's not just us fighting like with everyone. We have our own internal issues. And you know, I think you made one time like a comment about you being 1% Black, and I know like you were joking about it, and like I didn't really take offense to it, but you know, like there are some people who take that and run with it and are automatically like, okay, then I'm Black since Black is in my blood. But you don't walk around like you are still like white passing, if that makes sense. Like you don't walk around with a Black experience just because you have Black blood.
Oh yeah. And just for everyone watching, I took a DNA test, a spit test at Christmas, and I got it back and was like, oh my gosh. It said like it was actually like 0.8% African or something is what it said. I can't remember exactly where it was at.
From Nigeria.
So after it happened, I was like, oh my gosh.
But what's kind of hard about that whole, like just that whole topic, like, or that part of the topic, you know, where Adam said like, I'm 1% Black, but you know, he said that like, you know, you look at social media, you look just like all the discussions that have been had the last few weeks. And like, you know, I've heard multiple times how like, you know, I don't know how to say this, I guess, like Black culture has been, people really desire for the Black culture to be recognized as a Black culture. It is totally different. It's its own entity, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And so, you know, what's hard about it is like what Adam was saying was, you know, his comment about like, I'm 1% Black, like, I guess like it's hard to navigate when you're processing about to say something like that. Like when he said that, it's almost giving respect to the Black community, because like, oh, it's Black culture, like I want to be a part of this too because it is awesome, you know what I'm saying? But like being a white person with all the pressure from social media and culture today, it can easily be misperceived, you know. But I'm sure without a doubt, like Adam and so many other white people, when they say that, they're actually giving respect to the Black community and the Black culture. And like, because like, who doesn't want to be a part of something as awesome as that is, you know? And so it's just kind of hard to navigate, like, and to ensure that nobody's going to take offense to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Adam or any other white person, like, make a comment like that. And it's hard, like in the moment, you know, it wouldn't make sense for him to like, give some context to his comment before he makes the comment. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, it would be weird for him to say like, hey, I just want to say, you know, before I say this, like, I really respect the Black community and Black culture. And because of that, like, I'm proud to be 1% Black, you know, and I just want to like put that out there first. And so it's just kind of hard to navigate, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. And yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Like I definitely see that perspective, and I'm glad that you like opened that conversation up, because you know, we like as Black people, like we have been culturally appropriated for like so long. Like you see the Kardashians with braids, or you see, you know, Eminem with like baggy pants and all that stuff, and like that is fine. But I feel like people are so keen to pick from like the Black experience, but they don't really want to experience, you know, the Black experience when it's like for real. And that's also has been hurtful to us, because it's like you want to be a part, but you don't really want to be a part. And at the end of the day, you can take all that stuff off and still walk into an establishment and feel 100% respected. And so, but definitely, like that's definitely a valid perspective to have, because I never think like the intention. I just feel like as Black people, like we have an innate quality to know racism whenever we like see it. And I never really feel that from you guys. But if I know like I feel it from someone, then 9 times out of 10, it is something like in their hearts that they are struggling with. So yeah.
I felt that whole either you want all of it or you want none of it at all part. Like, I mean, it goes for the same thing as far as, you know, the whole God thing. Either you're all in or you're not. It's very simple. And so when it comes to picking out cultures, you know, you can take part in it and you can like be a part of it. But again, like if you don't want the whole experience, don't try and hop on the bandwagon to at least have part of it, you know. And it's no disrespect at all, because I mean, of course, we want everyone to be, you know, bonding together, you know, feel each other's culture, but not, that's, you know, why we're all different in our own ways. But at the same time, you know, knowing the struggles that come with a certain culture, you know, you still have to embrace that as well. You still have to, you know, I guess speak out on it, or, you know, take part in it. I'm not really sure how to, you know, put the words together for it, but as far as wanting to be a part of it, you know, the bads come with it. Like same thing as far as everything, you know, God goes. The ultimate goal is heaven, obviously, but there's a lot of things you have to go through in order to get there. And so same thing with the Black community, you know, we create, like Ken was saying earlier, you know, we have our own problems. We create our own things because we're already stereotypicalized and already put in all these bubbles or whatnot. So we create our own problems just in that manner, but let alone like still having to embrace others who want to come to our culture and like want to be a part of it. We have to, I wouldn't say make sure they understand, but like just give them an incentive that, you know, if you want this, know what comes with it and know how you will be perceived and how everything will begin to change if you're really in for all of this. And so that's where I stand on that.
Yeah, and I just want to add like real quick about like my own experience. Like the way that I dress, I guess, is also, you know, pulling from like the white race. Like I wear like, you know, trousers, and I wear like dad shoes, and I wear dad jeans, and I wear like, you know, white people stuff, but I mix it in with my own like streetwear style. And like even personally as a Black person, you know, I'm 6'3", you know, all my life I've been asked like, do you play basketball? And y'all know me, I'm not the sportsy kind. Like
Hey, you played basketball with me before?
But I'm very like artistic, you know, I'm very opposite. And so it's been very hard for me to even connect with my own Black brothers and sisters. You know, I've always been like I guess you would say the black sheep of the Black people. And, you know, even in that own experience, it's hard. And so I'm glad that we're also talking about our own internalized battles as African Americans.
Yeah. That's good stuff, guys. So I'm gonna go back to like one of the questions that's on here, just because I want to see like when was the first time in y'all's life that you experienced racism, and how has that affected you, and how has that made you feel? Like the first time.
You want?
Like, were you really young or were you older when it happened?
I'll briefly talk about a traumatic experience that I had back in 2018 with some cops, and even to this day, like I still feel trauma from it. And I'm very triggered by like police when I see them. Like even before this incident happened, like I knew of police brutality, but it was never personalized to me. And so even right now, with like I feel trauma with even seeing like blue lights. Like it's so weird, but like my neighbors have like a bar light that is blue, and whenever I see it, I kind of like my hands start sweating. Like it's very scary. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was some injustice of like it was a whole situation. Long story short, they thought I was like trying to dine and dash, but I wasn't, and it was just a thing of like I felt like it was literally the scariest moment of my life. Like I cannot even describe it because I was like, this is injustice. Like I cannot really like vocalize how I feel. Like I was very respectful because I just knew that that's what I had to do. But it was also very embarrassing. Like it was on like it was on Bradley Park Drive. Like it was like a lot of people could see, and so it was just like very nerve wracking to be handcuffed and to sit in like a cop car knowing that she didn't really do anything wrong. And you still kind of feel the repercussions of that because to this day, like if ever if ever a police car like veers over into my lane behind me, like I'm super super cautious. And I want to ask, like, as Caucasian people, like, do y'all feel at all threatened by the police? Like, knowing that they are law enforcement, like, do you feel any anxiety, so forth?
So for me, I feel anxiety when police get behind me, but it's for different reasons. So for me, I don't even know if I've told this story in my past. I used to like race my car. And I got literally, this is no exaggeration, I got 12 speeding tickets within a year and 2 reckless drivings. And so I get anxiety for a different reason because I got my license taken away for a year. So if a police comes behind me, I'm freaking out. Like I don't want to lose that freedom again. Like, please don't give me a ticket. Like I'm trying not to do anything wrong. And so I have it from a different perspective. I have, and this is a longer story for another day. I have had guns pointed at me by police and been on the ground in handcuffs before because I was pulling a prank on somebody. So I put it on myself. It's a different. All that to say, it's a different, like.
Absolutely, and this is the whole conversation of like white privilege, because me and Malcolm would never even dare to do that. Like, to be honest, we would never dare to drag race or to whatever you call it, whatever the term is. We would never dare to race.
I don't know what they call it now. We raced. We were bored and we raced.
Or like do pranks on strangers. And so this is like what we go through on a daily basis. Like we have to think 4 times before we even like do anything. So yeah.
Oh, but parents, I don't race anymore, and also haven't pranked and been like in handcuffs in a long time. So don't worry about it.
To answer your question, Cam, I think I've felt, like Adam was saying, like I've felt intimidated by police officers before. Like, anytime I pass a police officer or if they get behind me, like, I start, clenching up and like I freaking hold onto the steering wheel so tight, I'm so nervous. And I think like for anybody, like, police officers and, whether sheriffs or police or marshals, they're just these figures of authority, and they have this power, and it's intimidating, but as Pastor Adam was saying, like, I understand it is different because there is a history of the Black community being mistreated by these authority figures, and so it is different for Adam and I. Like, it is different for us for sure.
Like, I've never been pulled over and thought I'm not going to get to leave like alive, except for the time that they pulled the guns on me. I was okay.
Yeah, no, that's scary.
So I was on a roof. My girlfriend was upstairs of this restaurant, and her friend lived up there. And we were going to like climb on the roof and knock on her and like freak him out by going up that way. And as I was on the roof, I heard like freeze, get down. And I turn around and there's 4 police and they have like their lasers pointed at me. So that was the only time I ever thought like, oh crap. But for probably good reason. I shouldn't have been up there. But I can't even imagine like just being pulled over and having that feeling of, oh crap, like I might not make it home and I'm literally just getting pulled over for speeding or something, you know? So there is a difference.
Right.
I don't remember like an exact time that I experienced it, but I know that on several occasions, because me, Scan, and Jonathan last week, we were discussing like, what would happen if we, just got pulled over. And so, Skin and Jonathan, they were telling me about how, they automatically go ahead and get their, license registration. They put their hands on the wheel. It's already right there in their hand. Also, you can just take it and they just stay right there, sit still. And it's just like a matter of you not knowing like what happened. And so Skin was telling me like whenever he'll get pulled up or whatnot, call somebody on FaceTime, make sure they're recording the whole thing, hand on the wheel, say everything the officer say, yes sir, with all that great stuff. And so it's just like you really don't know what's going to happen. Like you can play the scenario perfectly, do everything you're supposed to do, all those great things, but at the end of the day, you still do not know like if they're trigger happy or if they're just flat out hateful or if they just want something to happen. Like you just don't know that. And so it's just, I mean, it's a scary scary thing, because I remember a scenario, it was a few years ago. It was Thanksgiving. It was dumb. We should have been doing it, but we were, playing outside and ding dong ditching. It was a few of us. And so we shouldn't have been doing it, but I mean, we were doing it anyways to have fun. And so
I remember
it
this.
was like, yeah. So it was like, we were done, we was all gunning good. We were walking around the neighborhood. We all had on black, so we already looked suspicious anyway. But this lady, some lady had called the cops. And so, we were just walking down the street, nothing of that nature. All of a sudden we see a car. It's like, oh, it's a car coming. Thinking nothing of it. All of a sudden we see blue light special. It's like, oh, it's the cops. And so we just, we all just try to remain calm, settle all those great things. And then he comes out, says his stuff, all that stuff. So he asks us how old we are. So people who did speak, they lied because, again, not knowing, we could have probably been arrested for something stupid and then something else could have been laid on to that. But it's just, as far as cops goes, it's, I won't call it a scary feeling, but it's just a very unsure feeling. And for me, I hate being unsure and not knowing what will happen or what can happen next. And so knowing that at any moment, being pulled over, and it's probably just you and the officer, you may not have anybody else in the car, it's just, you and that person. I mean, you're at their hands and their will. So it's just like, I mean, it's that.
Yeah. Every time I've been pulled over, which has been a lot, I've never had my stuff right away. That's something I've never thought about having to do. And I've also never thought about like ever videoing the police officer. Like all that stuff like is foreign to me. Like I've never thought of even having to do that. So thanks for
That's what
bringing
you
that up.
do, yeah. You just got to keep those hands visible.
I do want to say one thing before we move on, that I want to say probably all you guys like respect our police officers, as far as the ones that are doing the right thing, because they do have a tough job. But I also understand that there's like a lot going on right now with that as well. But I just want to make sure that that's known. Like we're not condemning all police officers here. Nobody's doing that. These are just like real life experiences that people have that you guys have had, so I just want to make sure that that's known.
And to also add on to that, like, I mean, there's the pros and cons with like everything. And I've just decided to be a free thinker. Like, I don't want to be like a herded thinker just because like I'm Black. Like I like to see things from all different perspectives. And, there's this whole agenda of like them trying to defund the police and get rid of police in general. And like, that's lawlessness, and that's in the Bible as well. And that's just not, we need law and order, as a society. We can't just like walk around here as an anarchy. You know, we
Yeah.
need some type of stability. And not all cops are bad. Like I've had some good experiences with cops before. Like the cop
Yeah.
in my high school was probably my best friend.
Yeah, I feel like the cops that come to North Highland are actually extremely nice.
Yes, they are.
Because on Wednesdays we are rough in there. You know what I mean? And they're super chill.
Yeah.
And Malcolm, maybe you can like speak to this from the other side of it too, because your dad is a marshal, correct?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
has he ever given you any like advice or tips or like anything?
I mean, we've talked about, life things and what it means to, be the man of your household and, what it means to just, be a man in general, things of that nature. But as far as like, you know, law enforcement, police thing, we haven't had a sit down discussion about that. But I mean, for me, like what I know of him, like, he has a lot of, great friends, in the, sheriff office, marshal office, whatever you want to call it, those areas, as well as, outside. He's a well-known person in the community because, I mean, he's straightforward and as real as it gets. He came from a rough past and literally, like I was saying earlier, someone had to fight their way through. He literally had to fight his way through to get where he was at. And now, he's on the verge of 20 years in law enforcement. He's had a great career, in my opinion. He's well known, well respected. No trouble has come about him in any areas of his job through, the 20 plus years that he's been in it. And so, I mean, just knowing that, I mean, and for one, he's a black man. So, ain't out of that, stereotype and just being straightforward in his job and knowing, why he's doing it and not allowing the influence or oppression outside of the world, get in the way of that. He's kept head on, he's been firm in everything that he's been doing. And I mean, he's, still rocking it out. So, I mean, yeah.
That's awesome, man. So we probably need to wrap this thing up because we're at like 45 minutes.
I was wondering, I was like, how long is it?
But it's good though.
It's
This
good.
could go on longer if we needed it. And like I said, I want to say again, I really do appreciate you guys like coming on here and talking with us, because this isn't really an easy conversation to have on either side. And I really do appreciate you guys, stepping up and doing this with us. My last question is, what can we do? And not just like a blank, like, what can we do? And it just be kind of like open-ended, but what can we do like as people? Like, what are some real action steps that our students can take? Because I think like we can have a discussion, and like I said, that's the first step earlier, not only this one, but also behind the like closed doors conversations. But what are some practical, really even simple, practical action steps that we can take to like help bring change? Like what can we do? So
I would say, continue to actually, fight along with us and stand by our side and everything. Don't, shy away from the pressure of how others may perceive you or how the world may change their view on you or how even, your own, I would say, white community may, change its view on you because you're standing for, what's right and, injustice and all those things, but don't fight in like the worldly manner, how it may proceed, fight knowing that, like, do everything in your power that you can as far as, voting or, marching, protesting peacefully, all those great things. But know that in your head, like, nothing in this world will ever, like, come about to change to where the injustice and all that is just going away. We have to understand that it may never go away. The only time he'll ever go away is when, he comes back. So we have to understand and keep that in our heads, like, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that change is evident and that we want change and that, we're here for change, but at the same time, knowing in our head that it may ultimately and never come, but knowing that how can I put it? Have a God first mindset as far as letting him lead you and not just being fueled by anger and like just the passion that, you know, may be inside you. Because anger is nothing wrong. You know, Jubilee, I was listening to her message as far as anger. You know, she spoke about it greatly. But at the same time, you know, as far as, you know, the Bible, it talks about, you know, being, you know, don't be quick to anger, you know, slow to speak, you know, quick listen, you know, understand what is happening, take it in, listen, understand it. Don't allow the anger and rage within you to fuel you, because then all that leads is to sin, and it leads to lying, and it leads to unnecessary things. Yes, we're angry. Yes, we've been built up for centuries of all this outrage and everything. But at the same time, we're still being judged by it. And so falling to the ways of the world will not, you know, help in any way, shape, or form. And so fight knowing that there's a cause and there's a why, not because we're hurting, but also knowing that, you know, understand why you're doing it. Like, what's your passion for why you want to fight along with us? And, you know, when you're defending it, and when someone, you know, comes about you in the other direction, like, oh, I believe in all of this, you know, all lies, you know, all that stuff. When you here's when you know that you'll have them, you know, beat or have them, you know, shaking in the mindset, is when they'll start yelling and losing their composure and not, you know, forgetting their main points, right? In that manner, when, you know, they start doing all those stuff, you keep your composure, you keep your cool, and you know, maintain a source of balance and understanding that, you know, whatever you're saying is not saying doesn't matter, but at the same time, it's not going to, you know, affect anything. And so they can bring up all the numbers, all the statistics, all that stuff. It won't mean a thing. Just maintain composure. Understand that, you know, we want change as much as anyone, but know that it may actually never come. But we can still fight and just proceed in the way that we need it to be.
Yeah. I think the Bible talks about, you know, don't get tired of doing good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's at. You know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I think it's what,
Yeah.
you know.
It's good.
Y'all, Jesus is coming back soon. Like, this is crazy. Like, we're literally in the end times. Like, and for we do not, you know, battle with flesh and blood, but with the principalities of the spirit. And so Malcolm really hit it on the head. Like, I feel like a lot of times we are driven by our emotions. And you know how our emotions are very deceiving. Like, the Bible talks about that. But we need to fight. Like, we don't need to take one knee. We need to take both knees, and we need to get, you know, to Christ and really like figure out what this problem is. I guess practically, as a Black person, I need this not to be like a trending topic. Like, I need us to have this same energy 6 months down the line, a year down the line, you know, 2 years down the line. Like, this is very influential, because before now, it's always just been like Black people protesting. But we have such a diverse, you know, protesting population now, that I feel like it really is making some influence. But we need to like keep talking about this. Like, it can't just be because it's in the media. It can't just be because like someone had to die for this. Like, we need to talk about it, you know, in our everyday conversations. Like, you know, at our church, we're talking about it starts with me. Like, it really does start with us. It starts within our homes. It starts within our mindsets, you know, on both sides. It's not just like, oh, it's not just like Black people being oppressed and like we're like, okay, come to us and have that victim mentality. Like, we also need to raise our level of understanding and fight with the spiritual armor.
Yeah. That's good, man.
It's really good.
Because
I'm there.
anybody go? Okay. Well, I mean, like, yeah, basically, you know, exactly what Cam was saying. But, you know, I mean, I don't know, I just love talking about God and just bringing it to factor, because I mean, it matters. But at the same time, you know, knowing he brought his son down, and, you know, he was part of the suffering of humanity. You know, he felt every pain, everything that we felt. And he did so much that he had to challenge every government official, law, everything. He challenged the top of the board, and doing so much that it got him killed, crucified, you know. And so knowing that if you can kill a perfect man, you know, knowing that everything that he's doing is right, you know, it's pretty apparent that it can happen to us, our imperfect selves, us of little faith. You know, it can happen to us at the same time. But again, I go back on my point, because I mean, I mean, it's as simple as that. You know, for all of us to truly get through this, we have to, you know, sit down with each other and just understand that it's not like Cam was saying, like, don't just make it an annual thing or once in the, you know, lifetime type thing. Just a couple months from now, it just goes away in the storm. Like, don't allow it to be that, because it's like I said, it's been centuries of this happening from us, you know, from slavery and just, you know, all these things that have happened in the past. And so empathy does come into play, knowing that I mean, we have to care for what is happening. You know, we have to, you know, put the love that God's first commandment is. You know, we have to put that first into play and know that I don't even know where I'm at right now, but just simply that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Thank you, guys. Real life. Our campaign, I guess, for the church, or campaign, I don't know. The slogan is, it starts with us. And so make sure that you have that mentality, that it's going to start with you. Even if you're the only one in your friend group that is standing up for what's right, even if you're the only one that's calling out your friends for saying like remarks, even if you're the only friend that's standing up, just remember that even if it's just you, like, it starts with you. So make sure that you have that mentality. It starts with you. It starts with like how you perceive people, how you love people, how you treat people, how you respect people, how you give people honor. And so make sure that it's starting with you. And if it starts with you and then it trickles down, man, anyways, I love you guys. Pastor Dakota, do you want to pray for us before we go back into a time of worship?
Sure. God, thank you so much for the opportunity to meet today and to talk about this. God, we're excited. God, we're ecstatic for the change that is coming because of this movement in this country right now. God, we thank you for the opportunity to participate in it, Lord. God, I pray that you speak to every student, Lord, if they are hurting, if any student is hurting right now, God, I pray that you comfort them and you bring peace to their hearts right now, Father. But also, God, I pray that you bring a passion, God, a fire, and put it in all of us, God, to be a part of this change and be a part of this movement. God, guide us. Lord, we just make ourselves available to be vessels during this time, God. Lord, we love you. Lord, we thank you for this time of worship, God. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
All right. So let's pause 5 seconds. And then, Cam, do you for real want to bless us?
No. Honestly, I think this might be the service. Just this conversation.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever you want to do, bro.
So yeah.
Cool. So do you want me to bless them?
Yeah. That's your thing, bro.
Okay. All right. So 3, 2, 1. All right, Real Life. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for this really important conversation. I'm glad we could have it. Once again, thanks for joining us. Malcolm and Cam, you guys did awesome. Pastor Koda, you did awesome. Malcolm, you need to heal up, bro. You need to heal up.
Yes.
You did a great job talking. I forgot about
my mouth today. My mouth is hurting.
We'll get some rest after we get off here, man. But before we go, Real Life, I want to bless you before we go. So, Lord, I just pray that you would bless them, that you would keep them, that you would make your face shine on them, that they would walk in your strength and joy and peace and comfort this week. And we love you, Jesus, in your name. Amen. All right. Real Life, doing this on Zoom.
Shout out to the fan.
Love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.